Happy Friday! You've made it to our editing and revising day. If you haven't already, go ahead and grab your green pencil crayon. We're going to be needing it as we edit our writing. This week we were writing about best friends, and we read the book by Kevin Henkes, Chester's Way. In that book, Chester and Wilson are best friends until a new girl named Lily joins the neighborhood. She seems so peculiar. Wilson and Chester avoid her, watching her from a distance, until one day she rescues them by dressing up as a cat. Everything changes, and the three of them become inseparable. In my story, I've written about my friend Luke. Luke's family moved into my neighborhood, and they seemed very strange at first. But eventually my mom invites their whole family over for dinner, and we realize we love all of the same things. My story ends with Luke introducing me to his friend named Steven, and the three of us become best friends. The first thing we do on Friday is read our writing out loud, and we listen to see if our sentences make sense. Do I have breaks for my reader to breathe? Let's read my writing, and we'll see what I need to edit. The neighborhood was a familiar place. I lived right in the middle of our U-shaped road. A few houses down lived Jay, a boy I would babysit every Wednesday night. Across the street lived the Tomato Man. He spent all summer in his front yard tending to his tomatoes. He must have been Italian. The neighborhood was familiar until a new family moved next door. There was a strange new car on the street. It was a purple PT Cruiser, whatever that means. It had giant stickers of cheesecake and had letters reading, "Wow Factor Desserts." Don't get me wrong, I love cheesecake. For my 10th birthday, all I wanted was strawberry cheesecake. But on a PT Cruiser? That's just peculiar. One day I was in my backyard and I could hear their whole family laughing and cooking something delicious. It smelled like ribs dripping in thick barbecue sauce. Just thinking about it makes my stomach growl like a bear. It was that same day my mom told us she had invited their whole family to dinner tomorrow. "Does that mean I have to clean my room?" complained my brother Mitch. That's my writing this week. I didn't finish my writing, but remember that's not the goal. The goal is that we write for those 10 to 15 minutes every day. Practice, practice, practice. As I was reading, I noticed some redundancies, some things that I said over and over again, repeating myself. So I've crossed those things out. I've also noticed some places where, as a reader, I needed to breathe. That gives me a hint that I probably need punctuation where I took those breaths. I also underlined some words that looked incorrect to me, and I'm going to have to check to make sure those words are spelled correctly. From here, I would encourage you to share your writing with someone else. Read it to them and ask them to give you some feedback. What's something they liked about their writing? And what's something you can try next time? Just make sure that they have a copy of your writing goals this year. What are some things I'm doing well, and what is something I can try next time? Perhaps I forgot to hook my reader this time. Next time I can try making my first sentence really grab my reader by using a surprising detail, dialogue, using our senses, asking a question. How am I going to hook my reader next time to make sure that they're interested in my writing? Now that we've read our writing to ourselves out loud, we've read our writing to someone else and gotten their feedback, it's time for our 3-2-1 check. 3 spelling, punctuation, and spacing corrections. What are some resources you can use to check your spelling? A dictionary, a thesaurus. You can ask your older brother or sister, even a parent. If those things fail you, you can even use Google and type in the word and see if you can find the correct word. Now, when I spelled neighborhood, I'm pretty sure I forgot a U in the middle. Using a thesaurus, I found neighborhood I started with N, and then I knew the next letter was either E or I. I checked E because that's how I thought it was spelled, and I went down my NEs and found neighborhood. Now, I was absolutely correct. There is a U in neighborhood, so I'm going to make sure to make those edits. Now, for some reason, while I was writing, I added an L to until, which I do sometimes. I know how to spell until. It only has one L, so I'm going to fix that. I fixed neighborhood twice, and I fixed until. I know I had some punctuation mistakes, so I'll fix one of those as well. For my 10th birthday, all I wanted was a strawberry cheesecake. Notice how I'm taking a breath in the middle of that sentence? I'm going to add a comma to make sure my reader has a chance to breathe as they read my writing. Now that I've done my 3 spelling, punctuation, and spacing corrections, it's time for word windups. Let's get some triple scoop words in here to make my writing more interesting. One of the places I thought I could make my writing more interesting is my description of cheesecake. A giant sticker of cheesecake. How do you describe cheesecake? Gooey, delicious, scrumptious, cheesy, creamy. It had giant stickers of creamy white cheesecake. I'm going to add a color to help my reader visualize a picture. Creamy white cheesecake. The second place I could add an interesting detail is about my tomato man. How do I describe his giant tomatoes he would grow every summer? He spent all summer in his front yard tending to his enormous tomato garden. Those are my 2 word windups this week. I've added 2 triple scoop words. The last place is a sentence shakeup. Where in my writing did my sentence become overly long or overly confusing? Well, I believe it's on my second page. One day I was in my backyard and I could hear their whole family in the backyard laughing and cooking something delicious on the barbecue. This is one sentence and it's gigantic. How can I break this up to make it a little clearer for my reader? One day I was in my backyard. Period. Get rid of the and. Capital letter. I could hear their whole family laughing and cooking something delicious on the barbecue. I could hear their whole family. Now, I don't need to restate it's in the backyard because I just let my reader know where we were. I could hear their whole family laughing and cooking something delicious. So I could hear their whole family laughing and I could smell something delicious on the barbecue. Let's read that one more time to make sure it's nice and clear. One day I was in my backyard. I could hear their whole family laughing and I could smell something delicious on the barbecue. Awesome. I've cut that sentence into 2 and I've adjusted some of my word choices to make sure it's nice and clear that I'm hearing them laughing and I'm smelling something delicious. That's it for my 3, 2, 1 check. It's now your turn.